Can we pre-approve this, Brian, before you put it up?
So anyway, I'm sure we'll cover a lot of things that'll probably irritate people, and some guys will agree with. Because anytime you talk about this, there's like these far opposing sides of the fence, and there's some middle of the road. So
I just can't buy into the whole face paint thing. That's so
like special ops. You put it on, you just feel.
But then you got to wash your face.
And then when it came to the shot, it's like, oh my God,
Autopilot.
there's the shot. Autopilot, save me, right? Bung, and off the arrow would go.
And I answered him, but I'm asking you that question.
I want to hear your answer. No, I want to hear your answer.
This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.
You know, they had the man purse thing going on, you know, and it had, their primary things they need when they jumped off the horse or whatever. I'm not a historian, but I'll pretend to be one. So Tenacious Tape.
I always use duct tape. You're going way more high tech.
Yeah, high tech redneck. Just some examples of things, and I'll go over those as well. Now, I use a large or a medium pull-out. Lips don't get chapped, but my nose does, and I just kind of smear it around there. Now, I smell mango all day. It's awesome.
Make it happen, Captain.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. I'm here with the primary host, Brian Call. I'm your closet host, Aron Snyder. And we're going to be going over my Possibles pouch. I posted up on Instagram on my own page. It's basically a Cafaro pullout with a bunch of crap in it. And I call it a Possibles pouch. Where that came from, I think it was Mountain Men. It's really just a pouch that carries a bunch of stuff you need to survive.
Dude, the first time, I'm disappointed by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I heard Possibles pouch, I just thought Mission Impossible. You know, like it had that sort of...
We can make it whatever we want, really.
But really, it's a Mountain Man thing?
Yeah, and as far as like, they had the man purse thing going on, you know, and it had, their primary things they need when they jumped off the horse or whatever. I'm not a historian, but I'll pretend to be one. But yeah, that's what it is. Obviously, my gear, this isn't what you'd call a bushcrafter's possible pouch. Bushcraft is surviving off no technology, technically. There's a lot of technology down here. But yeah, so this is basically what is in this kit is what I have found I use all the time. There's nothing in here that I've kept in my pack over time that I've just never ended up needing. So, you know, there's not like there's stuff in here where I'm like, I might need that. Everything in this kit I have absolutely 100% needed at one time or another and of vital importance at times. And so I'm just going to go through each piece, why I bring it, what I've used it for maybe. And then I've got a little pile of stuff over here to the left. I think you can see that. I'm not sure. Over to the left. And that's just some examples of things, and I'll go over those as well. Now, I use a large or a medium pullout. This is a medium, and this is a large to hold everything. Now, a guy actually asked yesterday on the Instagram page and said, man, that must be a stuffed medium. And I said, no, everything's in there, fits fine, whatever. And he was actually right. I had a large for in that photo. And what it is I generally run a medium, and I can fit everything I want to in the medium except my Sterapin and bladder. When I run a large, I throw in the Sterapin and the bladder with it. And that just depends. I mean, obviously, usually I don't run the Sterapin in the Possibles pouch because it's on the outside just like you do, ready to roll. So either way, just find a container that holds all this crap and you'll be fine. But I like the pullouts. So first thing is a Sterapin. And we talked about this a million times. You hit the button once for 16 ounces, twice for 32 ounces, and then you swirl it in circles, making sure both little electrode thingies are touching the water, and it zaps everything and you don't get the craps. Very important. Item number 1, down.
Stay on schedule.
Yep. Over here, I'll separate this kind of how I have it. All this stuff here goes in this like super duper waterproof case right here. And inside of this, these are disinfecting wipes, basically for cuts, scrapes, foot problems. And then I also have inside of this alcohol wipes, and I have big Band-Aids. This is generally for people's feet. and that's about it. This is just a really cheap Ziploc bag, but it's a secondary protective layer. These are those big durable Band-Aids. These are disinfecting wipes. Pretty simple stuff.
So show me that waterproof case you're talking about.
So this thing's been money. It's for a cell phone for me. I've had this for years.
Yeah, they sell that kind of stuff at REI. And
Yeah.
just a waterproof bag, heavy duty.
Yeah,
Kinda.
it's a little heavier than a Ziploc, but it fits everything perfectly. So it's been nice.
So that's where you're sort of keeping all this stuff.
All this stuff, yeah. Right here, these are Msr Aqua Tabs. There's two for each
purify your
layer.
water.
Yeah, there's 10, 20, 30. 30 of them. So that's my secondary purification process, and also for camp water when I fill up the big bladder. And again, this bag just ended up working where it fits everything pretty much perfectly. So right here, I have alcohol wipes, Gortex patch kits, patch kit for sleeping pads, these little goo patch things where you got a hole and you put this little, it almost looks like something would go on to take a corn off your foot or something. Those are in there. Anyway, this is really for clothing and for patching up holes in jackets, sleeping bags, as well as my sleeping pad, anything like that. Alcohol wipes, the glue, anything like that. And I've used everything in this multiple times. Now, I'm going to bounce over to my left pile, your right on the radio dial. And these right here, these are repair patches here, and this is a Gortex Repair Kit. That's what's inside of that, are a couple of these and a couple of these.
That's what's inside this other pouch.
This other pouch, exactly.
Right.
Yep, in there. I just keep extras. They don't cost a whole lot, and they're super handy. Again, super sticky, but if you put a hole in something, rain jacket, whatever, the Gore-Tex patches work really well. So anyway, these are separate. I don't keep these, obviously, full containers in there. Right here, this is something I have carried off and on inside my Possibles pouch. It's seam grip. Strangely enough, when I usually carry it, the tubes worked its way down. But if you put holes in down or synthetic clothing or anything like that, you can just smush this over, like just dot it, just dot it right here, rub it around, and it keeps the insulation from coming out. It's super handy. It also will work for other stuff, but it is a little bit heavy. So that's something I will sometimes carry, especially on extended trips. This here is something I keep an abundance of. These are inside my little hard plastic, and it's just an adhesive squares with a little bit of padding. This is for feet, and so when you use Leukotape, which I'll get to in a minute, for your feet, it is extremely, It's extremely sticky, for one, but two, this is like a secondary padding. So if I've got a blister working or a person gets a blister, I'll generally take that Band-Aid that I had. I'll put the Band-Aid over the top. So when you pull the Leukotape off, it's not ripping the skin off because the Band-Aid's not sticky. This will go over at the top over another protective layer, and then I'll put Leukotape over that. But this stuff's been really handy. It's like a second skin for my feet, and that's inside there. So, all right. This right here is just a migraine pill. You actually have to get it prescribed to you. So if you have headaches, all of these, which I generally don't take all these, but these are two different types of sleeping pills. This is Benadryl right here, and this is Advil PM, I think is what this is. It's a nighttime sleep aid. I don't take all of these when I go, but I do figure in if it's a 7-day trip, I'm going to take 7 to 14 sleeping pills in hopes I don't need them, but in case I do. And those go inside here. And usually, I'm just going to set that aside. I just slide that in.
I usually take melatonin.
Yep. And I used to take melatonin. The Benadryl makes me sleep better. It's probably not healthy, though. This right here, these are for that Petzl E-Lite. Now, I will say this generally doesn't go in my possibles pouch. This goes in my binocular bivy along with this. But for this case, in case guys don't use a binocular bivy, this is my backup headlamp, backup batteries. I don't always bring the backup batteries.
You see that lamp?
That will last. I've never had to replace the batteries in that during a season. I just swap them out every year. But I do carry extra batteries almost every time in my bino harness.
That's tiny.
So this is something.
Does it just have a little pull here? You just
Here, I'll show you. I don't. So that's something I may not have in my possibles pouch, or I might. But you just pull that around your noggin.
Nice.
This spins in
Folds
circles.
up, huh?
Yep, folds up. You've got the white.
So tiny.
Yeah, it's a ½ ounce. Now, I will say, and I just ordered one last night, they make a new one that's, this was 26 lumens, the new one's 50. I ordered the new one last night. It was like $26, I think.
Nice.
But either way, that goes in there.
Okay.
These are just extra blades for the Tito knife. Tito, however you want to pronounce it. I usually try to carry 4 or 5 of these. Sometimes I'll need them in emergency for if I don't bring enough in the kill kit. But I've always tried to practice for EDC kits, bug out bags, anything having some type of a razor blade with me. It's kind of like in the world of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. It's amazing what you can do with one sharp instrument. And that can be anything from clothing repair, foot repair, to trying to administer foot aid to people when you're back in the backcountry. They're handy. This is just a couple of the mantles for my my Primus lantern.
Yep.
And I don't always bring the lantern, but I always have the mantles because it doesn't make any sense to take them out. Also, this is Tenacious Tape from Gear Aid. This unscrews here. This stuff sticks to anything. I've patched everything known to man with this.
Is that what you'd patch a tent with?
I've patched tents with this.
Let's say you burned a hole in your tent with a lamp.
Yeah.
Hypothetically.
What I would do is put a little bit of glue on that around the edges, and I would take 2 pieces and squish them together as best as possible, and that would at least get you through for a while before bugs came through.
Got it.
Hypothetically, if you were a dumbass and burnt hole in your tent with,
and then if you
with
were
the Primus
to go
lantern,
home, how would you repair it?
I would send it to a professional because it's mesh. No, I would probably redneck it. I would just spend a little bit more time, flatten it out, do the same thing, but lay 2 books on top of it to get it flat, and then kind of basically flare the edges with glue just to try to get a little bit better adhesion. So Tenacious Tape.
I always use duct tape. You're going way more high tech.
Yeah, high tech redneck. This is Burt's Bees Mango, probably because Amy picked it out, moisturizing lip balm. Now, I've brought this up before. This is not for my lips. I put it on my nose. I do that. So don't ever borrow my chapstick because my lips don't get chapped, but my nose does. And I just kind of smear it around there. Now, I smell mango all day. It's awesome. Full Bieber eyes. I keep that in there. And this is a little thing of duct tape. I've had this probably a year, and you can see I've used chunks and parts and pieces. I have no idea what I used it for, but occasionally I need it. Yeah, and that fits in there too. So that's kind of that kit. And you can see it all fits in there nice and pretty. I can fit a couple more things there if I need to. Sometimes I throw the sunscreen in there, but that's it. So that bad boy slides in there. This, I am horrible about first aid. This is about as good as it gets. This is compressed gauze. It actually, it's a single-use 6-ply cotton white. I am actually just reading that off the label here. The only time I've ever used this is my buddy hacked himself up pretty good with a razor knife cutting up an animal. Mm-hmm. And it got to the point where I was tired of having him hold stuff and me hold stuff, so I opened this up, wrapped it around his hand, and then duct taped it because I didn't want to mess with it anymore. So I do carry that from time to time. Inside of this is just a pill case, but I've got contacts in there, migraine pills, ibuprofen. Up in here is Oxycontin. I don't suggest taking Oxycontin. unless you absolutely have to. I usually will have Vicodin, Oxycontin, something like that for emergencies. It's very rare. I actually have never had to take Oxycontin, I don't think, but I've given guys some with severe issues when we've been back there. That's it. So this is some form or fashion of something like this I always have for a fire starter kit. These are cheap little like earplug looking things that are treated. I just had those extra.
That light on fire.
You want to kind of pull these apart and break them up. They start better. These are Trioxane Tabs. This is a waterproof match set or match kit. These are like the super duper long burn matches. Now,
Just get those at like
I got this at REI, yeah. And then you can get it on Amazon. Most mountaineering stores are going to have. If you want to really find some cool stuff about bushcraft, just go to those Doomsday World and their bushcraft websites. You can find all kinds of crap that you don't need. Scooting over, I usually I just throw all this stuff in a standard Ziploc bag. I will say I don't really need these long burn matches like very often in Colorado, but I have used half of this in North Idaho, BC, and Washington to get a really good fire going. When I say over half, I've had to use 6, 8, 10 matches at a time in hopes to get a fire started, just for the simple fact is everything's wet. Now I will say if I would have tried a little harder to find tinder and dry wood, it probably would have been better. But either way, that's my fire starter kit. Actually, there's an extra striker that goes in there too. Just a headlamp. This is a black diamond. One thing cool without blinding our viewers with this one, you just touch that and it shoots to 250 lumens, and you touch it again, it dims back down. Try to do it. You can see it pop brighter. The other cool thing with this one, when you hold it down, it goes to red lens, but then it blinks blue and it's locked so it can't come back on. So now you can't burn the battery out, which is super handy. I just tried this one last year.
And doesn't it have a green light too?
This one does not.
Mine has a green light.
Yeah, I was going to say some of them do. And you know what? If this one does have a green light, I haven't hit enough buttons.
I thought I have a red and a green.
I think I only have a green. Either way.
Mine's better.
Yeah. Green. I've went through, I don't know how many different headlamps. This one for 250 lumens is good. You get any more than 250 lumens, the chances are you're either going to be running a really short burn time, meaning you might get 2 hours out of your battery if it's rechargeable, like if you're running like 1200 lumens or whatever, or you're going to be running batteries on the back of your head. And I've got a few black diamonds and Princeton Techs and stuff like that as well. So headlamp. This is just sunscreen. Pretty cut and dry, 36 SPF. Really
sunscreen's for pansies.
I was going to say
until you need it.
Until you need it. That's the problem right there. And my biggest thing for this is my ears and my nose gets fried. I usually have a hat on or I'll drape something over my head. But when I need this, boy, I need it. So I try to carry that with me. So these are zip ties. I usually carry 2 to 4. Usually this length. Sometimes I'll have little smaller ones, sometimes bigger ones. The zip ties are more or less for gear repair, but I've had to use zip ties for multiple different things, fixing broken tent poles, boots. An amazing amount of stuff. So I always try to carry a few zip ties with me.
I do too. I carry quite a few.
They're handy.
10. They're not that heavy, and I find myself using them a lot.
Oh yeah, especially once
for
you have
camera
them.
gear and broken tripods, and I don't know.
Oh yeah, and it's amazing. Like even if you're at your campsite or whatever, and you don't ever really think of what you're going to need one for until you're monkeying around with rope trying to make something attach that a zip tie would work for better. So they are handy to have. This is just standard. It's reflective cord. It's pretty thin. I think this is 2 millimeter or 2.1 millimeter. Super strong. It grips really well because of the way that it's woven, I guess. But I usually carry quite a bit of this. This is 50 feet, and it's super, super lightweight. I'll use that sometimes if I got to hang meat, clotheslines, anything like that. This is the Garmin 401, the Fortrex. This is the GPS I've always used, wristwatch. A lot of times I'll have this in my bino harness as well. And this is an M9, I think that's right, Suunto M9 compass. I'm almost positive it's an M9. They're handy. Then I've got, and I did this last night, I generally don't leave the wrapper and everything on. I tape these up with electrical tape, but this is backup batteries for my headlamp. Depending on length of the trip, sometimes I'll bring backup batteries for the Sterapin. Sometimes I'll bring backup batteries for the headlamp. I don't always. That's why I have a secondary. But if it's a long trip, I'll always have an extra set of batteries. I just don't leave them in the wrapper.
Well, and if you go with a buddy, you know, and you don't both need to necessarily carry spares of everything.
No, you don't. And that, I mean, I always suggest for both guys to carry 2 headlamps, but they probably both don't need backup batteries.
But, yeah, dude, I'm all about 2 headlamps.
Yeah.
2 or 3 different forms of being able to start a fire. You know, just some redundancy there.
But the battery thing, you're right, because the chances of both people running out of juice in the batteries of both headlamps, probably pretty dang. I've never had that happen.
On this last trip, though, you know, I showed up out there, and of course I have backup water filtration tablets.
Yeah.
You know, like Aquamira or something, MSR. But I don't want to use that if I don't have to. And I got out there and my Sterapin batteries were dead. But I had the backups, you know.
Yeah.
And so
you don't have to worry about it as much.
We hadn't gone out in a while. And that was one thing, when you know all your stuff's fresh and you've just reloaded all the batteries. But we had just kind of packed up and gone. It had been a while since we've been on a overnight trip.
Well, that's a different podcast. Will cover things like that, but it's hard to remember all the time everything. And usually batteries I've found are usually it's something that gets forgotten about. This is the Tito or Tito knife. Sometimes I'll actually just skip all of this stuff in my left hand. I'll just have that inside there or in my bino harness, just a handle, and then I'll add the blade as I need it. Just depends on what's going on or how I'm feeling that day, I guess.
Yep. That's what I did in Alaska. I really just brought the handle and the blades in a different pouch.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You don't really need the scabbard, right, or the sheath.
No, you don't.
But it is handy to have if you've got the space.
To be honest
for
with
it.
you, the only reason I have it on there is it looks really cool, and we only went in like 3.5-4 miles.
Right.
And that's one thing I'm going to have. Tito's making a version of this knife, which is the SE Azula, and they're making it out of stainless steel. I like softer steel more than
Tito's making it.
Tito, yep. They kind of partnered up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's D9, which is I think this is made out of D9 tool steel or whatever it's called, softer. They made these that are stainless steel. So when I say they, Tito. So theirs is going to be a little bit more difficult to sharpen than this one.
Is Tito out with theirs yet?
I think so. Yep.
I thought I saw it.
Yep. And then...
So it's not the exact same blade.
Same knife, same form, same whatever. It's different steel. Yep. This is not Fizz Enduro from Hammer. This is a very strong pre-workout. This is my emergency... I don't take the whole thing. It's about this much at a time will wire you out like a crack addict. You'll be scratching your teeth, but you will make it to the trailhead.
Right.
And then this is Luco tape right here. And this is, I pack this with me all the time. And that pretty much covers what's in my possibles pouch. So if you guys have any questions, make sure and throw them up on the website, whatever you need. And, you know, if you have your 2 cents of something you carry, sometimes I carry a ferro rod, things like that, that might be added. But if you have something that you think is worthwhile to throw in your possibles pouch, definitely list it on there. And, it'd be cool to talk about it.
To hear what people say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, all right. Well, everybody, stay gritty, stay out of trouble, and always show up on time.
The future of public lands. All of us own them, all of us use them. Political activists are demanding us to hand over the public lands where the state's legislators could transfer and control these lands. U.S. citizens own 640 million acres of public lands, which creates 6.1 million jobs and generates $646 billion per year.
States have been selling off land to pay bills for over 100 years, thus closing access to the public. 39% of original 64 million acres have been sold. The cost of land management would break most state budgets. For instance, who will pay the hundreds of millions of dollars to fight major wildfires each year? It doesn't matter how many promises are made. The financial reality is it will force states to have to sell off our public land.
President Theodore Roosevelt said, "We must preserve our lands for future generations, not merely to the people now alive, but to the unborn people. Our duty to the whole bids us restrain an unprincipled present-day minority from wasting the heritage of these unborn generations."